she was safe. I do find it kind of unusual that her parents let her. I mean, she was an adult, but like a single female from Canada is gonna go down to a different country, okay, and specifically Los Angeles, which we know is very, very, very busy, does have quite a lot of crime, and, you know, would you want to send your young adult daughter alone down there? I would have tried to tell her, at least go with a friend or something, you know, but whatever. Not trying to blame parents, but I'm just saying, I would not feel comfortable sending It's not a swimming pool, okay? But it's a huge water tank. And if for whatever reason she was out of her mind that night and went up there and opened it up and decided to jump in, there's no way to get back out. You know, imagine like a swimming pool. If you swim up to the edge, you can put your arm out onto the ground or the ridge of the swimming pool, right? And it's usually like this much space between the top of the water and the top of the swimming pool, right? And you easily can lift yourself out, or you can go to a ladder or the stairs or whatever. But now this is just a tank, okay? So somewhere they said, I think there was, at the time when they found her, 12 inches of space from the top of the tank to the top of the water. 12 inches. I mean, is that 12 inches? Wait, I can't get it into the screen, but so picture 12 inches now. Is it easy in a dark water tank? Because it was probably in the middle of the night, I assume. To reach up when you're in the water. Okay, your feet don't touch the ground. You're floating in the water. Now you need to get your hand up and over and grasp over onto the side of the tank and pull yourself out. What if her arms weren't long enough for that? You know something, it's not that easy to get yourself out. So she could have jumped in easily and then not be able to get out. And then in my head, even though I'm getting ahead of myself here, but maybe she tried to turn her clothing into flotation devices, because now she's got to tread water forever, basically, you know? Or maybe her clothes were weighing her down, so she took them off, you know, like, all of that is possible, because like it said, she was found without her clothes on. Alright, let's get back to the story. At least one person saw Lam soon before her death, and that was at a nearby shop eerily named The Last Bookstore. Owner Katie Orphan was among the last to see Alyssa alive. Orphan remembered the college student buying books and music for her family back in Vancouver. It seemed like Lam had plans to return home, to give the things to her family and reconnect with them. So in other words, she wasn't looking to hurt herself, you know, she was planning on her return back to Vancouver to see her family. When the autopsy results came out, it only served to ignite more questions. The toxicology report confirmed that Lam had consumed a number of medical drugs likely to be medication for her bipolar disorder. But there were no indications of alcohol or any illegal substances in her body. So she did have bipolar disorder, and she was on a number of prescription drugs for that. Soon after the toxicology report came out, amateur sleuths began poring over the information in hopes that they could solve the mystery. For example, was the 19th.